Let me go ahead and get the link for that for everybody who wants to go over there. At this time, if you want to rename yourselves so that if I refer to you in the session, I don't accidentally use your actual name, please do that at this time. Thank you very much. Okay, so let's get the live link over here, and then I'll provide it to everybody in the chat. Here you go. Okay. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to do a little warm-up exercise, and the warm-up exercise is going to be on PicoCTF. So please log into your PicoCTF if you have not already logged in. And the exercise we're going to be doing is the one at the bottom over here. This one is called SQLi Lite. So let me grab that link and I'll provide it to everybody in the chat. Okay. All right, so let's move over there. So this is the SQLi Lite challenge. So this challenge has to do with the easier type of SQL injection that we covered last session. And what you need to do to start the challenge is to just click on the Launch Instance button over here. And that's going to launch the instance. After a few seconds, you're going to see that the challenge page changes, and you're going to see the red button over here, and you're going to see try to log in over here, and then there's a link. So what I want you to do is I want you to right-click on that link and put the link in a new tab. So after you've opened up the new tab, you can click on the new tab and you come to this login screen right here. So if you can hear me and if you can see the login page, and if you're there, please type in the chat, "I'm at the login page." Smiley face. Testing, testing. Okay, so once you've arrived at the page, we have to log into the page somehow. And because we're talking about SQL injection, like we did last time, there is a certain special way we can log in. Does anybody remember what the name of this technique was that we used to log into pages with the SQL injection vulnerability? If you don't, that's fine. But if you do, please let us know if you remember the name of the term in the chat, and we can go through it, okay? Okay, so what we're referring to in this exercise right over here is the login bypass technique. Remember that that certain web apps that are vulnerable to SQL injection sometimes have a vulnerability on their login page where you can log in by using a special SQL injection attack. So in here, what we can do is we can supply the username with the special payload, and it's this one right here, single quote, or 1 equals 1, and then space, and then dash dash, and then space. So the space at the end is very important, and if sometimes if you don't leave the space at the end of this string, it's not going to work. So the other thing you can do is you can put in a blank password over here, and let's see, and then you can click on the login button to log in using this special SQL injection attack. Okay, so just click on login, and then it tells us that we are logged in. So it says logged in, but can you see the flag? It is in plain sight. So does anybody remember what we can do to see some extra details from a web page? Okay, so if you're just arriving here, we're doing this challenge over here from PicoCTF, and we're currently solving this challenge over here, SQLi Lite. So we're logged in, but can you see the flag? So what we can do to see extra details from this page is we can look at the page source, and we look at the page source by right-clicking and selecting View Page Source, or we can use the Control-U keyboard shortcut. Okay, so if we do Control-U, we're going to see here that there's some extra code that we can see. So we see a flag over here. It says PicoCTF. Looks like you solved it. Okay, so all we need to do is we need to highlight the flag, copy it, and then go over to the challenge page. And in the challenge page, we can paste in the flag and click on Submit Flag. And then we are finished. Okay, so let's go over and review what we learned from the previous lesson. And it's just a little review before we start doing some practice, okay? So this is HackerFrogs After School SQL Injection with TryHackMe. This is part 2, and this is web app hacking session number 7. So this is the 7th intro to the web app hacking workshop. In the previous workshop, we learned about the following web app concepts. So we learned about SQL injections. SQL injection vulnerabilities can lead to sensitive data exposure, admin account takeover, web server takeover, and more. So SQL is a type of database software, and every web app has a database. So this means that there is potential for SQL injection vulnerabilities on all sorts of web apps. So, and that makes this a very serious type of vulnerability. So we're talking about, so last session, we talked about in-band SQL injection, and it's a type of SQL injection where the results of the injected query can be seen in the output of the web app. It is considered the easiest type of SQL injection to exploit. Okay, we also talked about error-based SQL injection, and what SQL-based SQL injection is, it's a type of in-band SQL injection where error messages from the database software are returned to the web app interface. So basically, we send something weird to the SQL database, and it sends an error message to us. So inside the error message, there is usually all sorts of information, like the type of SQL that is being used. In this case, it is MySQL. We also took a look at union-based SQL injection. Union-based SQL injection uses the SQL union operator with the select statement in order to output additional database information from the web app. So a lot of beginner SQL injection challenges that we find on CTFs use this kind of union-based SQL injection. So we're going to practice a couple of them today, and we're going to get better at doing this SQL injection, okay? So we also talked a little bit about blind SQL injection. Blind SQL injection is SQL injection where the error messages resulting from improper SQL queries has been disabled, but the requests are going through nonetheless. So basically what blind SQL injection is doing SQL injection where the results of the database query, we can't see them from the web app. So we also learned about this very handy trick inside of blind SQL injection. It's called the authentication bypass, or as I like to call it, the login bypass. So the authentication bypass, it says authorization here. Okay. It's a type of blind SQL injection where insecurely written code allows the login of a user to a web app without the use of the proper username or password. So sometimes you can use this auth bypass or login bypass to get past the login page of an app, and you don't need to have a valid user account to do so. So the most basic auth bypass SQL command is illustrated by the command shown above. Note that there is a space present in the command after the double dashes. So you've got single quote or 1 equals 1, space, dash, dash, and then space. So this is actually very handy sometimes. You will come across a challenge, web app hacking challenge, where they ask you to hack into a login page, and sometimes you're able to use this technique to get into the web app. Okay, so we're going to go back to TryHackMe today, but we're going to do something slightly different in order to practice our SQL injection. So we're going to be going to this room right here. So tryhackme.com/r room dvwa. There's going to be a link in the GitHub page. And where is the GitHub page? Over here. Okay. So I'm going to give everybody the link to the GitHub page here, and it's going to have all the links and instructions for the exercises we're doing today. If anybody here doesn't have an account over at TryHackMe, you can go ahead and use this link to sign up for an account. But for everybody else, what I want you to do is I want you to log into your TryHackMe account and then go over to this page right here, which is called DVWA Room. Okay? So after you're logged into your TryHackMe account, please go to this link over here. Okay, so everybody, if you are at the DVWA room and you are logged into TryHackMe, please type in the chat, I'm at DVWA, smiley face. So I've already joined this room. So I'll show you what happens. I'm going to leave the room. And then I'm going to, oh wait, I think I need to log in again. I can't use this account. So I'm going to log out, and then I'm going to log back in as another user. Hold on, everybody. I need to switch accounts. Okay, I see some people are starting to arrive at the web page. Very good. So I just need to log in as my usual email and prove that I'm not a robot. Okay. So it's DVWA. So everybody, when you arrive at the room, you're going to see the green Join Room button over here. So before we can access the room and use its resources, we have to click on the Join Room button. So once you arrive on the page, the DVWA page, you'll see the icon over here, and there's the green Join Room button. Just click on the Join Room button, and then you should be able to access the rest of the room. And you should be able to see the green Start Machine button. So after you've arrived at the room, please click on the green Start Machine button over here. So just click on that. And what we also need to do is we need to use the attack box. That's the special computer that we use to do the exercises on TryHackMe. And that's going to be at the top of the web page. So just under the logo over here, there's going to be a button labeled Start Attack Box. And what I want you to do is I want you to click on that button, okay? So click on Start Attack Box, and then you're going to see that your browser window splits in two, okay? And then it says your machine is initializing. So if after you click on the Start Attack Box button below the icon at the top of the page, and it says that your machine is initializing, please type in the chat, I'm loading the box. Smiley face. So this is going to take a couple of minutes. But that's fine because we've got all the time in the world. Well, actually, we don't, but it takes a little bit of time to access our virtual machines. And the great thing about these virtual machines is that you can start these virtual machines and they exist in the cloud. And when you don't want to use them anymore, you can shut them off, and it's a great thing. So after about a minute or so, you should, if you scroll down a little bit, there should be this red banner over here that says target machine information. So we're actually starting two virtual machines. There's one virtual machine that has the DVWA web app, and there's the other attack box machine that we're going to be using to test the DVWA machine. Okay, so user AD says I click on Start Machine, but nothing happens. You click on Start Machine, but nothing happens. So under task 1, there should be a green Start Machine button, and after you click on the Start Machine button, you should see that that the Start Machine button turns gray. So user AD, were you able to click the Start Machine button, and did it turn gray after you clicked it, or is it still green? Is the button green, or is the button gray? Okay, if the button is gray, then it should be loading, and you should have a red banner at the top of the just above task 1, and it should the red banner should have an IP address over here, and it should have a time limit over here. Do you see that? Okay, that's great. That's great. So that is working as intended. So did you click on the Start Attack Box button that is located below the DVWA icon over here? Did you click on that? So let me demonstrate. So underneath the DVWA icon at the top of the page, there should be a button that right now for me it says Show Split View, but you should see a button that says Start Attack Box. Do you see that button? So you should click on that button to start your attack box virtual machine that we're going to be using to test against the DVWA machine. So just click on that button that says Start Attack Box, and then your web page should split into two. Okay. So everybody, if you started your attack box and your web page is split into two, please say my page is split in the chat. Okay, so user AD says, looks like you're on a small screen over or mobile device. Okay, so what I want you to do is I want you to select yes, yes, started anyways. So there's going to be an option that says yes, I want to start it, and there's going to be an option that says no. So I want you to just click on yes, and then it'll split your page into two, okay? Okay. All right, so everybody, after your attack box machine finishes initializing, you should see this rainbow text over here. And after you see this, I want you to click on it, and I want you to hit enter to make it go away, okay? So user HD says, mine is still loading. So everybody, if you see the rainbow text and your attack box is finished initializing, please type in the chat, I see rainbow, smiley face. Okay, so what you want to do after your attack box is finished initializing is, so first of all, you can click on the rainbow text and you can hit enter to get rid of that dialog box. The second thing you want to do is you want to go down to the bottom of the screen, and in the center, there's going to be this icon with two arrows. And the icon says, and the button says, view in full screen. So what I want you to do is click on that button, view in full screen. It's going to be in the middle at the bottom, and I want you to click on it. And that's going to put the attack box machine in its own browser tab, okay? So this gives you a lot more room to work with, and you don't have to work with a cramped screen. So just click on that button to put the attack box in its own screen, and then go back to the TryHackMe page, and then click on this minus button right here. So at the bottom of the page, there's going to be this minus button that's labeled Exit Split View. I want you to click on that, and then your TryHackMe page is going to become one window again. And you're going to have your attack box, which is also in one window. Okay. So everybody, if you manage to put your attack box into one window pane like this, please type in the chat, attack box ready, smiley face. Okay, user D says they just joined. Okay, no problem. So what we're doing is we're accessing this TryHackMe page right here. And I'm providing the link of the page in the chat. Okay, so user AD says that their attack box just finished loading. What should I do? Okay, so if your attack box just finished loading, what you need to do is so your browser window should be split like this. What I want you to do is I want you to go down to the bottom of the screen, and then in the middle, there's going to be a button that looks like two arrows, and it's going to be labeled View in Full Screen. I need you to click on that button, and then your attack box is going to be put in its own browser tab like this. okay? And then afterwards, what you need to do is go back to your TryHackMe page, and I need you to click on this button right here, which is, so it's down at the bottom, and it's this minus button right here, and it's labeled Exit Split View. You just need to click on that, and then your browser window is going to become one window again, and it's not going to be split anymore. Okay? So everybody, if so one more time, if your attack box is in its own browser pane right here, please type in the chat attack AB ready, smiley face. And we're going to get ready to hack into the DVWA box. Okay, so one more time to user D. We are at the DVWA page. What you need to do is you need to join the room. There's going to be a green button that says join room. You need to click on that. And then afterwards, under task 1, there's going to be a green button labeled Start Machine. You need to click on that button, and then it's going to turn gray. And you also need to click on the Start Attack Box button, which is located right below the DVWA logo over here. So just click on the button. Mine says Show Split View, but yours, if you haven't clicked on it yet, it says Start Attack Box. Okay, so everybody who's ready, you need to go back to your TryHackMe page, and under the target machine information, there's going to be a target IP address. This is the IP address of the machine that we're attacking. You need to click on this button right here. That's called Copy to Clipboard. So just click on that, and then click on your attack box. What you want to do is you want to open up your Firefox browser inside of the attack box. So this is really cool. This is basically it's a computer with a bunch of security tools on it. So it has all the security tools that that you need to do some hacking stuff. But it's also connected to the other machines on the TryHackMe network. So start up your Firefox by clicking on this button over here. And after a couple seconds, the browser is going to open up. So you're actually opening up a browser inside of your browser, and that's kind of cool. So in here, so I think you can just paste in. You can just so you copied the IP address over here by clicking on Copy to Clipboard. When you go over to the Firefox browser, you should be able to just paste in the IP address, but you just don't go over to the IP address. You need to put in HTTP : / in front of it. So paste in your IP address, go to the beginning, and then put HTTP : / and then hit enter. And then you should see the DVWA login page. Okay, so if you can see the page, please type in the chat login page. And if you're having trouble, let us know, and we'll try to help you out. Okay. Okay, so I see some people are at the login page. If you're having trouble, please let us know by typing in the chat. All right, so we need to log in. So the username we're going to use is going to be admin. Whoops, that's not how you spell admin. And the password is going to be password. And after that, you click on login. So user AD, what step are you at? Is your attack box in the full screen right now? Or are you, okay. So what you need to do is you need to open up your Firefox. So in the attack box, you can open up Firefox by using this button, or you can use this button. So just click on one of those buttons and the web browser should open. What you need to do is you need to go over to the TryHackMe page, and then at the top, underneath the red banner, Target Machine Information, there's going to be an IP address. You want to click on the Copy to Clipboard button over here. Then go over to the web browser, and at the address bar, type HTTP:// and then copy in the IP address. So just paste it in and hit enter. So user ID asks, where is it? Are you asking about the web browser or the IP address? So to everybody else, the username is admin and the password is password. And then you hit the login button. Okay. User ID is asking where the button is. So on the TryHackMe page, there's going to be a red banner that says Target Machine Information. It's going to say Target IP address, and then there's an IP address right here. You need to click on this button right here that says Copy to Clipboard. It should be beside the IP address. So just click that, and that's going to copy your IP address. Then you go over to the attack box, and then you click on the Firefox web browser. And then at the inside the Firefox web browser, you type HTTP:// and then paste in the IP address like this and hit enter. Okay, so for everybody else, the username is admin, the password is password, and then click on the login button. So it's going to ask you if you want to save the login. You don't need to save it. Don't save. So the first thing we need to do when we arrive inside of this web application. So let me explain what this web app is. So this web app is called the Darn Vulnerable Web Application. So it's basically a web application where you can learn about a bunch of different web app security attacks. And the first thing you want to do after you arrive on this page is you want to go down to the very bottom. And near the bottom, above logout, there's this button called DVWA Security. So you need to click on the security button right here. And it says security level. Security level is currently impossible. We need to change this. So just go down to the bottom, and there's going to be this button right here that says impossible. You need to click it, and you need to set it to low. And then you need to click on submit. Okay, so user ID says you're having trouble opening the page. So are you using the Firefox browser? So are you using the attack box Firefox browser? And if you are, what you need to do is you need to go to the address bar here. You cannot open it. You cannot open the Firefox browser, or you cannot open the DVWA page. Okay, so you can also open the Firefox browser by using this button right here. So it's located up in the upper left corner, near the upper left section of the page, and it's just this orange button right here. So you just click on it, and then your Firefox browser will open. So user AD, you're at the attack box desktop, correct? Are you able to locate one of these two Firefox browser buttons? So for everybody else, if you manage to set the security level to low, please let us know in chat by saying, my security is low, smiley face. Okay, great. User AD, did you log into the DVWA app? Did you manage to log into DVWA? Can you let us know? Okay, so if your security level is low, then we can start. So after your security level is low, okay. So user ID, we can give you help. We can give you some extra help after the session is over. No worries, no worries. Okay. So what we want to do is there's a bunch of different buttons over here that lead to different pages that deal with different web app vulnerabilities. You want to go to the one that's called SQL injection, SQL injection. So just click on that button, and then we have arrived. Okay. So everybody, let's walk through how we would get information from the SQL system. So inside of the GitHub page, which is over here. No, this one. Okay, and I'll provide the link to that. So there's this header here, TryHackMe DVWA room. So in step 3 over here, it says follow these steps to perform the union-based SQL injection attack. So remember, the first thing we need to do is we need to figure out that if the system has a vulnerability in the first place, and we can do so by inside of the user field over here, we just put a single quote. And the single quote, and we click on submit, and then we get an error message. It says you have an error in your SQL syntax. Check the manual that corresponds to your MySQL server version, something. So this is an indication that that the application is vulnerable to SQL injection because it gives us an error message when we put in a single quote. And we also get the version of SQL that we're using in this case, which is MySQL. So that's great. So the next step that we need to do is, okay. The next step is to try using a union select statement with the app. So you can just copy this. So under here, number 1, underneath the number 1, there's some code. Just copy that. And then go back to the browser and click on back inside of the Firefox browser. So over here, get rid of the single quote and paste in the code that you copied from the GitHub page. So an annoying thing is that it doesn't include the space at the very end of the payload. What you need to do at the end of the code is just put an extra space, and then click on submit. So it says the use select statements have a different number of columns. So we're testing for 1 column. What we need to do inside of union select statements is figure out how many columns are used. And so this first payload is testing null right here. And null is standing in for 1 column. The next thing we need to do is we need to test for 2 columns. So to test for 2 columns, we use this code right here. So null is going to test for 1 column and 2 columns. So just copy that code. So you can click on this button, and then you can go back to your attack box, click on back, and then highlight the payload, delete it, and then paste in the other payload. So Control V to paste. So we do have our space over here, so that's great. We can just click on submit. And then we get some output. So this means that this is the correct number of columns for our SQL injection. So there are two columns because we put null null, and we got the system to return information to us. Okay, so that's great. The next step is to get the version information for this database. So this first column is still going to be null, but the second column we're going to put in this version function. And the version function is just going to get from the database what version of database is being used. So just copy this. And for some reason, this one doesn't have an extra space. A user on YouTube just subscribed, Joyhand. Joyhand, thank you very much. All right, so just copy this code right here, and then go back. Go back, and then inside of the field, paste in your payload, and at the very end, you have to put a space. So if for some reason you are not you're getting an error message when you put in these payloads, it might be because you forgot to put the space at the very end of it. So after that, click on Submit, and then the very end of the output here, it tells you the version that is being used by the system. Okay, so that's great. Let's go back. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to get the name of the current database. So sometimes these systems have many databases in them, but so we need to get the name of the current database before we can go on. So underneath number 4, there's this code right here. Just copy that. This one also doesn't have the trailing space, so we're going to have to put it in ourselves. So back here, paste it in. Make sure we have a space at the end after the double dash. Click on Submit, and then we get the name of the database. So the database name is DVWA. We're going to need this information to get more information from the database. So the next step is, so we have to get all the names of all the tables in the database. And in order to do that, we have to use this code above. So we're going to get the table name from the information schema.tables, where this table schema equals DVWA, which is the name of the database we just got. So keep in mind that if we're not dealing with the MySQL version of SQL, then the command that we use could be different. So this is why we need to know what kind of SQL, whether it's MySQL or some other version. We need to know this before we can do our SQL injection. So just copy the code over here. User P, thank you for telling me the time. You don't need to tell me the time. I try to end these sessions on time. Thank you. Okay, and then go back. Inside the field, paste in the payload and make sure that there's a space after the double dashes. Click Submit. And then we see that there are 2 tables inside of this database. There's this one called Guestbook, and there's this one called Users. So what we need to do is we need to figure out what is inside of these tables. So there's one table called Guestbook and another one called Users. So the next step is to get the column names for the individual tables. So this one above number 7, we're going to highlight this over here. So we're getting the column names where the database is DVWA and the table name is Guestbook. So we're taking a look at the columns in the Guestbook table. So just copy this, go back to your attack box, and then paste in the payload. Make sure that there is a space after the double dashes. Click Submit. Okay, so inside of the Guestbook table, there's comment ID, there's comment, and there's name. But we're not actually looking for this. So the Guestbook is not very interesting. What's more interesting is the other table. In the other table, we're going to get the columns by using this code right here, which is the users table. So just copy this code, which is below number 7, and it's between number 7 and number 8. So copy that code, go back, paste in the code, and then click Submit. So we see there's a bunch of different columns in this table. There's user ID, first name, last name, user, password, avatar, and failed login. So we want to get the username and the password from this table over here. Okay, and we can do so with the last one, with the last SQL injection code right here. So what we're doing is we're going to select user and password from the users table, and that's going to give us all the users and passwords on the system. So all you need to do is copy this, go back and paste this in, and click on Submit. So here we've got our admin user, we've got our Gordon B user, we've got our Leet user, our Pablo user, our Smithy user. So this is what is listed as the password, but does anybody know if this is a valid password or not? If you think this is a valid password, type yes in the chat. If you don't think it's a valid password, type no in the chat. Okay, some people say that this is not a valid password. So does anybody know why this is not a valid password? So the reason why this is not a valid password is because this is what is known as a password hash. And this is the password after it's passed through a type of cryptography program. And these are what are left on inside the databases and the database checks against this kind of password hash before it logs you in. So if you really want to know what this is, we could try cracking this hash. And very quickly, I'm just going to demonstrate how to. So this is a very well-known hash. This is a very weak hash. And the reason why we're able to crack it is because this is hashed using a weak method. We can copy this, and then we can go over to a website called, I like to use a website called crackstation.net, and that's going to let me crack very easily encrypted passwords. So I'm going to paste in this password, I'm going to prove I'm not a robot, and I'm going to click on crack hashes. So it tells us what the hash is, what the type of hashing method is, MD5. It's a very weak method. And the password was actually password. We actually use this to log in. Melee Man is in the YouTube chat. Hello, Melee Man, and welcome to the chat. I'm just doing a class. I'm going to be doing this class for the next 10 minutes or so. Okay, so we managed to successfully capture some information from the web app here. So what we can do is we can figure out what Gordon B's password is. So we're going to highlight the hash for Gordon B, copy it, and then go over to CrackStation and put this in. And we're going to prove we're not a robot and crack the hash. So this hash is actually ABC123. That's interesting. Okay, so back at the DVWA, this is Gordon B's password. We can actually log out. And then for the username, it is Gordon B, and the password is ABC123. And click on Login. And now we're logged in as the Gordon B user. Okay? All right, so everybody, if you managed to get access to the passwords using SQL injection, please type in the chat, we got the usernames. Smiley face. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to do one more. We're going to do the Pico CTF challenge, and the Pico CTF challenge is called More SQLi over here. And let me grab the link for that. And everybody in the chat, that's the link right there. So on the page, it says, can you find the flag on this website? Additional challenges will be available after launching your challenge instance. So we're going to do one more. Hopefully we can complete this with the time that we have left. So when you arrive on the page over here, you're going to want to click on the Launch Instance button. And user AD, I think you can access this. You can access this challenge over at Pico CTF. So after you click on the blue button over here, you're going to have a link. So it says try to find the flag here. What you need to do is you need to right click and put this in a new tab. So we've got this page right here called Security Challenge. Please log in. And if you're on that page, please let us know by typing in the chat, Security Challenge. I just want to make sure that everybody is at the same place. Okay, so it says, please log in. Remember that we can use the SQL login bypass technique, and that is this right here, single quote, space, or space, 1 equals 1, space, dash dash space. And then for the password, we can put anything. Then click on login. All right, I see some people are at the security challenge. Okay, so we weren't able to log in, and it actually tells us what the SQL query was. So select ID from users, where password equals something and username equals something. So our SQL injection actually happened at the end over here. And the reason we weren't able to log in is because the typical SQL query is username first and then password. But in this case, the password and the username is switched up, which means that the end of our payload over here didn't work because the order was switched up. So does anybody know how we can get this to work? So we can actually get this to work if we put our login bypass payload in the password field instead of the username field. So all we need to do is copy this and then paste it into the password field. And for the username field, we can put anything. And then we can click on login. Okay, and that's going to log us into the app using the login bypass technique. So here we've got an app, and we also need to use SQL injection to finish this challenge. Okay, so if you go over to the GitHub over here, so down past Pico CTF challenges on the GitHub, there's going to be this completion guide for the challenge over here. So over here, this first payload is going to let us determine what tables. Oh, no. This is just going to let us know how many columns. Let's see. Melee says, I would have opened DevTools and modified the input, worked on the IRS. Interesting. Maybe we'll talk a little bit more about that later on tonight. Okay, so this first payload over here we're trying to figure out how many columns are in the original payload. So we just need to, in the original statement. So just copy this, go back to your Pico CTF website, and then paste it in. Click on search. So because we were able to get output from the database when we put in 3 columns, and remember, so this is counting columns. Null, null, null means 3 columns. The next step is to determine what tables exist in the database. And we're going to do that with this right here. Just copy that. So just in case you're wondering, the type of SQL that we're dealing with in this challenge is called SQLite. And we know that it's SQLite because in the challenge, if you click on the hint, it says SQLite. So that's why we know we should be using SQLite commands. So over in the web app, just paste in this one over here. User select null name from SQL master where type equals table. And once again, make sure that there's a space after the double dashes. Click on search. And it says that there are these tables: hints, more table, offices, and users. So in this case, the flag that we're looking for is in this more table. So the next thing we need to do is we need to figure out the columns for more table. So user CT says, what was the password you put for the password area? So the password we put for the password area in this app was the bypass technique. So single quote or 1 = 1, double dash space, just like this. So you put that in the password area, and for the username area, you can put whatever you want. Okay, so to figure out what is in the more table, we're going to use this payload right here. So we're going to get the name from the pregnant table info more table. So this is going to tell us the columns inside of this table. So just copy it, go back to the website, paste it in, make sure there's a space after the double dashes, click search, and then it tells us there's these two columns. There's flag and there's ID. So in order to output these two, we just need to do Algiers union select null flag ID from more underscore table space dash space, and then click on search, and then we get the ID, and we also get the what did I put? So I put flag in there, right? So we've got the ID, which is 1 and 2, and we also got the flag. So the flag contents, if you are here, you must have seen it, and you also have the flag. So all you need to do, so if you want to get the payload for this, it's in the GitHub, and it's the last one over here. So if you need to get this from the GitHub, that's fine. You can just copy this and then provide it to the web app. But the flag is here. All you need to do is copy it. User D says, is this the last challenge? This is the last challenge for today's workshop. We're going to be doing another session on Friday. If you need to go, I understand. Okay, so you need to go back to the challenge description page, paste in the flag for this, click on submit flag, and then we're finished. Okay? All right, so if you managed to finish the challenge, please type in the chat, I injected the SQL, smiley face. Okay. All right, so let's do a quick summary before we finish today's session. So where are we? So we practiced using union-based SQL injection on the DVWA app on TryHackMe as well as PicoCTF. We also got a chance to practice our login bypass with the PicoCTF web app challenges. So, but this is only a little bit as far as SQL injection is concerned. There's a bunch of other types of more difficult SQL injection, like Boolean-based, time-based, out-of-band, but we didn't have time to cover those. That's fine. So we're going to do another session on Friday, and on Friday we're going to be finishing off our web app hacking by learning about a very famous web app security testing tool, which is called Burp Suite. And we're going to be learning about using this tool by using TryHackMe. TryHackMe, the attack box over here is actually really cool because they have a lot of different hacking tools on here, including Burp Suite, which is this icon over here. In fact, there are a lot of different security tools installed on the attack box. But thank you very much for coming today. If you have any questions, if you have anything that you require assistance, any challenges or exercises that you need help with, stick around after the session is over. And I'm going to end the session on YouTube.